Hello everyone. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment with where you're from and what time you're watching. Your support helps us bring you more stories like this. Now, let us begin.
Cordelia Poirier was born on June 22, 1865, in the village of Saint Scholastique in Quebec Province, Canada. She was the youngest child of Noel Poirier and his wife, growing up in a devout Catholic household during the late 19th century. In Quebec during the 1870s, religion shaped nearly every aspect of daily life. The Catholic Church influenced education, morality, and community expectations, and families were expected to raise their children within strict religious traditions. Education for girls at the time was not compulsory and depended largely on family circumstances and religious access. Cordelia attended a school operated by religious orders such as the Ursulines or the Congregation de Notre Dame, institutions that provided one of the few formal educational opportunities available to girls. Instruction focused on basic literacy and arithmetic, along with religious teaching and training in domestic skills designed to prepare girls for traditional roles as wives and mothers. Within her family, Cordelia was surrounded by examples of respectable Catholic service. 3 of her sisters became teachers, a profession considered honorable for women in the 1880s. One of her brothers entered the priesthood, reinforcing the family's strong ties to the church. By the time Cordelia completed her education, her older siblings were already adults established in their respective paths. As the youngest child, she was regarded as cherished and supported within the household. Her upbringing reflected the values of faith, duty, and modesty that defined her community. These early influences shaped the environment in which she matured, establishing the religious and social framework that would later intersect with the events of her adult life. In 1889, Cordelia Poirier was courted by Isidor Poirier, a man 10 years her senior. Isidor was known in the community for his strong work ethic and reputation as an honest and reliable man. For Cordelia's parents, these qualities made him an acceptable and respectable suitor. The courtship was brief. On November 4, 1889, the couple were married at the church in Saint Canut in a ceremony attended by family and friends. It was regarded as a happy occasion, marking the beginning of their life together. Following their marriage, Cordelia moved into a modest home that Isidor had carefully built himself. He worked diligently to provide for his wife, while Cordelia contributed to the household income through her skills as a seamstress. Her needlework helped support the couple financially, and together they maintained a humble yet respectable life within the village. Both were active members of the local Catholic community. Isidor adhered closely to the traditions of a devout Catholic, and Cordelia became especially admired for her musical ability. She was known as a skilled organist and regularly played during church services. Notably, she did so without payment, and her contribution was appreciated by both clergy and congregation. Her role as organist made her a valued and visible member of parish life. Over time, however, their marriage came under quiet scrutiny. The couple remained childless in a society where having children was widely regarded as an essential part of married life. As months turned into years, gossip began to circulate. At the same time, financial strain developed. Despite Isidor's long hours and dedication, the couple accumulated debt. Increasing pressure weighed on the household, and Isidor's growing reliance on alcohol further strained the relationship. These combined difficulties gradually widened the emotional distance between husband and wife and intensified community attention on their private lives. Samuel Parlow was born in 1863 and came from a good family in the region. Unmarried and working as a handyman, he became acquainted with Cordelia and Isidor through their shared involvement in the local church community. Over time, Samuel began assisting Isidor with carpentry projects and other manual tasks. He also helped with various chores around the Prue household, particularly duties that Cordelia was unable to manage herself. His presence at the home became increasingly familiar. As Samuel spent more time with the couple, members of the small, close-knit community began to take notice. His closeness to Cordelia, especially during periods when Isidor was away for work, fueled speculation. In 1895, Isidor traveled to Fresno, California, after securing employment there due to limited opportunities in the village. During his absence, rumors intensified. The parish priest, Father Pino, wrote to Isidor, urging him to return to his wife or have her join him. Although the letter avoided direct accusations, it clearly suggested serious marital concerns. Isidor replied firmly, expressing that he believed he knew his wife better than anyone else. Despite his return and the appearance of normalcy within the household, gossip did not subside. Samuel continued to be seen in Cordelia's company, and their association remained a subject of discussion throughout the village. Financial pressures persisted, and the couple's debts grew heavier. At the same time, Isidor's drinking increased, adding further tension to an already strained marriage. In a community where reputation carried significant weight, the continued rumors shaped public perception. Though no formal accusations had been made, suspicion lingered. The combination of Samuel's frequent presence, Isidor's absences, and the couple's visible struggles created an atmosphere in which speculation flourished, quietly influencing how events would later be understood. On Sunday, November 21st, 1897, Isidor Prue remained at home in Saint Canut, resting after a long week of work. He stayed inside the house undisturbed. Cordelia followed her usual routine and attended church, where she exchanged pleasantries with Samuel Parlow. After the congregation dispersed, Cordelia and Samuel briefly returned to the Prue home during the mid-afternoon. Their visit was short. Cordelia soon left to spend time at her parents' house, while Samuel departed to tend to his elderly mother. Cordelia remained with her parents overnight. The following day, November 22nd, Cordelia returned to her home but found the door locked. Unable to enter, she proceeded to the church, where she had been scheduled to play the organ for a wedding ceremony. She fulfilled her commitment, as she was known to be the only person in the parish willing to play without payment. After the service concluded, she returned once more to the house and again found the door locked. Concerned, she sought assistance from her neighbor, blacksmith N. Bouet. He climbed through a window and unlocked the door from the inside. Rather than entering immediately, Cordelia asked Bouet to search the rooms. When he reached the bedroom, he discovered Isidor lying motionless on the bed. His throat had been cut, and a butcher's knife lay nearby. The room showed clear signs of struggle. Blood stained the walls and floor, and furniture had been overturned. Evidence suggested that Isidor had been drinking prior to his death. Cordelia appeared overwhelmed and struggled to provide a clear explanation. Police were summoned and initially considered the possibility of suicide. Newspapers soon reported that Isidor had died by his own hand. However, investigators examining the scene identified troubling inconsistencies. The severity of the injuries and the placement of the knife near the door did not align with self-infliction. Additionally, a woman's shoe print was found pressed into the blood-stained floorboards. These findings led authorities to suspect that Isidor Prue had been the victim of deliberate murder rather than suicide. On November 25, 1897, authorities arrested Cordelia Prue and Samuel Parlow in connection with the death of Isidor Prue. Both were taken to the police station for questioning. Initially, each denied any involvement and maintained that they had nothing to do with Isidor's death. As questioning continued, Detective Maskell focused his attention on Cordelia. After sustained persuasion, Cordelia altered her account. She admitted that she had known Samuel intended to kill her husband, but insisted that she had not directly participated in the act itself. She stated that since January, Samuel had pressured her repeatedly to consider killing Isidor. According to her statement, in mid-October, Samuel traveled to Montreal and purchased a revolver. When he showed it to her, she objected, expressing concern that the noise would attract attention. She further claimed that approximately 1 week before the crime, Samuel sharpened a butcher's knife and declared that he would use it instead. Cordelia told investigators that on the afternoon of November 21st, she left home to visit her father, believing that Samuel intended to act. She said that the following morning she encountered Samuel, who looked at her, smiled, and said in French, "I have done it." She maintained that this was the moment she realized her husband had been killed. During additional questioning, inconsistencies in her narrative became apparent. When asked what she believed constituted an accomplice in a murder, she responded that it was someone who holds a man while another kills him. After obtaining Cordelia's statement, Detective Maskell confronted Samuel, informing him that she had placed responsibility entirely upon him. Samuel then confessed, but his version differed significantly. He claimed that Cordelia actively encouraged the killing, whispering, "Kill him," as they stood on opposite sides of the bed while Isidor slept. He described striking Isidor with the butcher's knife, a struggle that followed, and efforts by both to stage the scene to resemble suicide by positioning the knife near the body. Detective Maskell considered Samuel's account more consistent with the physical evidence recovered at the house. In January 1898, Cordelia Poirier and Samuel Parlow stood trial before Justice Taschereau. The proceedings attracted significant public attention. The courtroom was filled with spectators, and newspaper reporters documented each development as the case unfolded. On the first day, evidence began to outline the broader circumstances surrounding Isidor Poirier's death. The court learned that in February 1894, Isidor had drafted a will naming Cordelia as his sole beneficiary. Within months of that decision, rumors began circulating regarding her continued association with Samuel Parlow. Witnesses testified that she was frequently seen in his company, despite efforts by her father and the parish priest to discourage the relationship. Their testimony suggested that her behavior had drawn concern within the small community. The prosecution also presented evidence concerning a life insurance policy. On January 17, 1897, Isidor had taken out a policy valued at $2,000. It was stated that Cordelia persuaded him to obtain it. Shortly afterward, she wrote to the insurance company in Montreal asking whether the policy would pay out if a husband died under unusual circumstances, including murder, poisoning, or disappearance with remains later found. The company secretary replied that such circumstances would not void the policy. In October 1897, the premium payment was not made. The insurance company sent reminder notices on November 1st and November 14th, warning that the policy would lapse if payment was not received by November 24th. Cordelia did not pay the overdue premium. Nevertheless, after Isidor's death on November 22nd, 2 days before the policy's expiration date, she attempted to claim the $2,000 benefit. On February 2nd, 1898, both Cordelia and Samuel were found guilty of murder. However, a legal dispute soon arose regarding the admissibility of their confessions. The defense challenged the methods used to obtain the statements. The court ultimately ruled that the confessions could not be admitted as evidence. As a result, the convictions were set aside, and new trials were ordered for both defendants. Cordelia Poirier's retrial began on December 5, 1898, and lasted 11 days. During the proceedings, evidence from the prior trial was revisited, and witness testimony was re-examined under renewed scrutiny. Despite legal challenges and the heightened attention surrounding the case, the outcome remained unchanged. Cordelia was found guilty of murder and sentenced to hang. The sentence reflected the court's conclusion that she had played a significant role in planning and facilitating the death of her husband. Samuel Parlow's retrial commenced shortly afterward, on December 19th, 1898. The courtroom was crowded and disorderly, filled with spectators eager to witness the proceedings. The gallery was so congested that several women were injured in the commotion. Despite public sympathy and a petition requesting clemency, the jury returned a unanimous guilty verdict. The court concluded that Samuel had actively participated in the murder, influenced by his association with Cordelia and his role in carrying out the act. Both defendants appealed the verdicts, challenging the legal process and the handling of evidence during the trials. Appeals were considered by the appropriate authorities, but each was ultimately denied.
The legal system confirmed the convictions, maintaining the sentences imposed by the court. No further modifications or reductions were granted, and both Cordelia and Samuel remained scheduled for execution. At 8 a.m. on Friday, March 10, 1899, Cordelia Poirier and Samuel Parlow were executed by hanging at the jail in Saint Scholastique. The executions were carried out according to the sentences handed down by the court, marking the conclusion of legal proceedings related to the murder of Isidor Poirier. Following the executions, both were interred at a cemetery in Saint Canut. Their burials were conducted according to local customs, providing a formal resting place in the village where the events had taken place. The case concluded with these confirmed facts, establishing the final resolution of the criminal acts and the legal consequences for those involved.